Hello everyone, hope everyone's having a great day today. Today we're going to be talking about the value factors of jade, but in much more detail than our last video. So when it comes to the value factors, we have the 2 T's and the 4 C's that really break down the value of jade. So what are the 2 T's and 4 C's? So we have texture, transparency, color, carat, weight, craftsmanship, and clarity. Those are the most important 6 factors that jade gets valued based on. For nephrite and jadeite, they do have different characteristics, obviously, so it's going to be a little bit different, but the majority of it is still the same. So we'll start off with texture again, just like we did in the last video. So we have some beautiful jadeite here. There's obviously different grades, qualities of jadeite and nephrite. For texture-wise, this would be considered a marble. All texture means basically is the grain structure of the jade. So for this one, it's more of a marbling. It doesn't have a very consistent texture by any means. You can see some random crystal structures here and there. Ignore the cut, that was my fault. But yeah, it's not very consistent, so this would actually be considered lower end on this texture scale, but it could be very high in, translucency and clarity, all those other factors. So there's a lot to consider when valuing a piece of jade, and I believe no 2 appraisals are going to be the same. If you take, say this was crafted, you take it to one fine jewelry expert, I guarantee you they're going to appraise it differently than the other. But when it comes to appraisals, you have to keep in mind it's for insurance purposes only. Yes, you could say that is resale value, but that's not what it's meant for. But that's for another video, I digress. So, that's texture, grain structure, same thing with nephrite. It's the same thing, but when it comes to nephrite, if you have a really bad grain structure, it's almost going to guarantee a lower end nephrite. If you have a really tight, good grain structure, it generally yields in a better quality, from my experience at least. So moving on from texture. Transparency, translucency, we know all about this one. You guys have seen me with this flashlight a million different times. I promise to get an actual jade flashlight in the future. So translucency, how well does the light actually shine through the piece? Not the clarity of the jade, but how well does light actually go through it? So, again, it's pretty straightforward. If the light goes through it clearly, you can see through it 100%, has high clarity, that's going to give you a much better pricing value point for your jade. Same with the texture, if it has a nice consistent texture, nice grain structure, you're looking at a better price point. Translucency, it speaks for itself. Color is a huge determining factor. So when it comes to nephrite, a lot of Chinese nephrite is very dark, has a lot of inclusions. If you don't know what an inclusion is, make sure you check out my last video. So they have lots of inclusions. Siberian jade and British Columbia jade are a lot more, I don't want to say better because that's not the right word for it. They have a lot less inclusions and they have a much brighter color. So it's a little bit more desired, and there's many different nephrite deposits all around the world. I think there's about 40 active mines around the world. So there's a lot of variety when it comes to nephrite. Jadeite, not so much. You're looking at, I think there's 2 or 3 active mines around the world, mainly in Burma. But as we discussed before, exporting it is illegal, so the only way to really get jadeite is stuff that's already been bought before, or people that go to the Gemporium once a year and they export it out. Small quantities of the stuff really, get through the border, and that's why the price point is also so high for jadeite. Also, I would like to discuss in another video, ethically sourcing your jadeite and nephrite is super important. Otherwise, you're supporting basically like child labor and a bunch of horrible things that we'll go into in another video, but I digress. That's for another video. So, beyond color, if you have a nice green, imperial green, that's going to fetch a much higher price than, say, a Wyoming black jade. Still highly valued, still, has a good price point, but an imperial jadeite is going to fetch, it could fetch millions, absolutely millions, versus, a nephrite that has a beautiful apple green may only fetch, hundreds or thousands. The pricing is just night and day. So coloring, Jadeite comes in basically a rainbow of colors, from blacks, whites, blues, even yellow. There's a rare orange that you don't see very often, and lavender is another beautiful, beautiful color. Oh, sorry, trying to keep this in the frame here. But yeah, so all these different colors are going to affect the price points. Obviously, Imperial Green Jadeite is going to cost more than white Jadeite, but it also depends on market trends. So lavender has really, really become popular here in the past few years, and is much more desired, and the price of it has just skyrocketed. I struggle to find any lavender Jadeite to buy that isn't, thousands of dollars. But yeah, so that is color. Next, we have carat. Weight is important. Obviously, if you have a piece that has the best texture, the best translucency, color, good clarity, and it was crafted into something beautiful, it can make it so that it's not as big a determining factor. But if you have just a raw piece of jade that's on-carved, weight is a huge determining factor. So crafted, they're a little bit more lenient on weight. Obviously, it does play a factor, but a little bit less. On rough, raw jade, it is a huge determining factor. Weight is a lot of that. So beyond carat, we have craftsmanship. I should have brought some pieces in, but let's be honest here, my crafting isn't, or sculpting isn't quite up to par compared to some other sculptors out there. But if this was crafted into, a beautiful little Buddha or something, it can be worth thousands of dollars versus just buying a rough piece. It could be worth hundreds, but at the same time, sometimes rough is more desired than a crafted piece for the potential that it could become. It depends on the person, the buyer, and the market. There's so many factors when it comes to jade, but I think that's why, I really like it. There's so much to it and has such a deep history, and again, there's just so much to it. So, last one, clarity. So if this piece you could see through it like glass, I'm hoping to get some in where basically, if you moved your hand behind it, you'd be able to see a light change, or if you took a piece and you had like a piece of paper and you ran the jade across it, you could still read it with the jade there. That would be considered glass jade, or there's icy jade, and then this is marble. There's all these different grades, and that's just for texture and clarity. That determine, again, the price points, the value of it, everything. So, again, when it comes to buying jade, a lot to consider, a lot to be, a lot to think about, and that's part of the reason why I want to become a gemologist, because when you become a gemologist, you get that fine jewelry expert degree, or certification, you do a jade course that teaches you everything that you possibly need to know, and I want to know everything I possibly can about jade. And, make sure that when it comes to my craftsmanship and acquiring more jade and buying pieces, that, I'm getting the best possible stuff and getting the best possible stuff for you guys too. Because ultimately, we want to get the best quality at the best price. And with jade, sometimes that can be a tough thing to acquire, but do my best. So, those are the 2 T's and the 4 C's of what make, jade valuable and the quality factors. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them, and I hope you guys have a great day.